Aphantasia, the inability to visualize mental images. Aphantasia is a unique psychological phenomenon that represents the inability to visualize clear mental images. It is a condition in which the sufferer is unable to create mental pictures, scenes, or objects, no matter how hard they try. This phenomenon has attracted the attention of scientists and psychologists because it not only reflects the diversity of how the human brain works, but also opens the door to understanding more about the complexity of human experience. Aphantasia and different mental experiences. A good example of this difference lies in the way people experience a story. When reading Lewis Carroll's classic Alice's Adventures in Wonderland, most readers can easily picture the Queen's game of boxe-ball. In their minds, the balls are live hedgehogs, the mallets are flamingos, and the soldiers fold into domes. Some readers can even see vivid details, like the patterns on the hedgehog's quills or the blush on the Queen's face. However, for people with aphantasia, any attempt to visualize this scene is futile. In their minds, there is no image, just an empty space. The experience of the ordinary. For most readers, this passage is an invitation to the imagination. Just by closing their eyes, they could see the scene clearly in their minds. The hedgehog balls seem to move slowly, sometimes shrinking when hit by the flamingo. The flamingo beak, the main tool of the game, was visualized in vivid detail, from the pale pink color to the curious eyes of the bird. The soldiers with pensive faces, trying to maintain balance while forming domes, further enhanced the humorous atmosphere of the scene. Some even felt other elements such as the vibrant colors of the background, the cheerful sounds of the game, or even the chaos and tension when the Red Queen shouted out commands. Details such as the soft fur of the hedgehog, the green grass on the field, or the bright red color on the Queen's face also appeared clearly, as if they were watching a vivid movie in their heads. The experience of aphantasia. However, for people with aphantasia, the experience is completely different. When they read the passage above, they understand the content of the story, but no images appear in their minds. The hedgehogs, flamingos, and soldiers exist only as abstract ideas, without any visual images. When they try to visualize the scene, they are met with a dark and empty space. No matter how hard they try to visualize the curved beak of the flamingo or the quills of the hedgehog, all their efforts are in vain. They cannot see the scene, no matter how many times they read the description. However, this does not mean that they cannot understand the story. Instead, they rely on words and logic to reconstruct the meaning of the events in their minds. For them, the game scene becomes a series of facts. The hedgehog is the ball, the flamingo is the pounce, the soldier is the dome. They may find the strangeness of the setting interesting, but cannot appreciate the visual beauty. The author conveys origins and concept. The concept of aphantasia was first noted in the 19th century by psychologist Francis Galton. In an experiment, he asked subjects to visualize their breakfast table and then rate how vivid the image was. The results showed that the ability to visualize images exists on a wide spectrum. Some people cannot visualize any images at all, while at the other end of the spectrum, there are people who create mental images so vivid that they seem real, known as hyperphantasia. Although it has been described for a long time, it is only in recent years that aphantasia has been studied in greater depth, thanks to advances in neuroscience. This has allowed scientists to better understand how the brain processes mental images and why aphantasia occurs. Scientific research and findings. Recent research has shown that aphantasia is related to differences in neural activity. An experiment using the pupillary light reflex has provided important evidence. When normal people imagine a light source, their pupils tend to constrict in the same way as when they actually see the light. However, in people with aphantasia, the pupils do not respond in the same way. This suggests that their brains are not creating mental images in the usual way. In addition, brain imaging studies have found that aphantasia may be related to weaker connections between brain regions that control perception, memory, and vision. People with the condition seem to have difficulty activating brain regions simultaneously to create mental images. Interestingly, however, people with aphantasia can still dream and see images in their dreams. Dreams appear to be generated through a different neural pathway that operates spontaneously and does not require conscious control from the brain. Causes and inheritance. Aphantasia is often genetic, runs in families, and lasts a lifetime in most cases. However, it can also develop later in life due to brain injury or psychological conditions. This suggests that, in addition to genetics, life events or changes can also affect a person's ability to visualize. Effects on experience and life. People with aphantasia often do not notice the lack of mental imagery in their minds until they compare their experiences with others. This difference can affect memory, emotions, and even career choices. People with aphantasia tend to remember events based on facts or information rather than images. For example, when remembering a party, they will remember who was there or what was said rather than reenacting the party scene. In addition, the ability to visualize or not visualize can also affect emotional responses. One study found that people with aphantasia did not sweat when reading stressful stories, perhaps because they could not clearly imagine the situations in the story. Aphantasia in careers. This difference may even affect career choices. A survey of 2,000 people found that people with aphantasia tended to choose careers related to science, technology, engineering, and mathematics STEM. Meanwhile, people with vivid visualization skills often worked in art, design, or media, fields that require strong imaginations. Positive perspectives. It is worth noting that, despite their inability to visualize images, people with aphantasia often possess other strengths such as superior abstract thinking or logical analysis. In the case of Alice in Wonderland, they may focus on Lewis Carroll's extraordinary creativity in creating a world full of paradox and deep meaning, rather than being fascinated by the visual details. Part of human diversity. Aphantasia, the inability to create mental images, is a vivid illustration of the richness and diversity of the human mind. Rather than being viewed as a defect or disorder, aphantasia is a clear example of how each individual experiences the world in a completely unique way. When we think of imagination, many people picture creating vivid images in their minds, like a movie playing out in the brain. However, for people with aphantasia, the world in their minds is different. There are no images, no colors, sometimes even no specific sense of visualization. This does not mean that they lack creativity or thinking ability. On the contrary, they can think logically, analytically, and creatively in different ways, often focusing on ideas, words, or emotions rather than images. Aphantasia is not a disorder that needs to be fixed, nor is it a medical problem. Instead, it is part of the overall picture of the diversity of the human brain. Some people are able to create detailed, vivid images, while others, like those with aphantasia, experience their imagination as abstract ideas or concepts. Neither is right or wrong. They are all normal and valuable expressions of differences in how the brain works. Rather than focusing on what aphantasia might cause people to lack, we can look at it as an opportunity to learn more about how people adapt and thrive. Many people with aphantasia still achieve great things in fields like science, art, and business. These people may compensate for their lack of mental imagery with other unique approaches, such as using data, words, or systems analysis. The study of aphantasia has opened new doors for the exploration of the human mind. It helps us to see more clearly that individual experiences are diverse and cannot be judged by general standards. It also raises an interesting question. How can we truly understand the inner world of another person? We may never know exactly what is going on in the mind of someone with aphantasia, just as they may not understand the vivid visual experiences of another person. However, this does not diminish the value of any experience. Instead, it encourages us to listen, learn, and broaden our view of the diversity of the world. The phenomenon of aphantasia is not only an interesting topic in neuroscience, but also a reminder of the uniqueness of each individual. It encourages us to appreciate our differences and seek to connect more deeply with those around us. The world is beautiful, not only because of what we have in common, but also because of the unique, individual traits that each person brings. In learning about aphantasia, we not only discover a new part of the brain, but also realize that respecting differences is the key to understanding and loving each other. The diversity of the human mind is not only a fact, but also a gift, something to learn from and appreciate together.